candy and all that other Kool-Aid, soda, and then wonder why they bouncing off the wall, can't pay attention at school, and clowning at home, and ain't got no energy to take out the trash. Replace some junk with some vegetables, some fruit, and set boundaries and say, anybody that gives this child anything other than what I said, we gonna have a problem. Because everybody in the household need to work together. If you got you got a household with just mothers, y'all need to work as a team to get them in line. If it's just fathers, you need to work as a team to get them kids in line, and stop doing everything in front of them. Stop arguing with each other in front of them. Stop talking slick to your significant other or your sibling or another grown person in front of them, because you know what that kid is thinking all the whole time, all that drama between y'all grown selves is going on. Oh, it's okay to be disrespectful. Oh, it's okay to lash out when I get angry. Oh, it's okay for me to just go and stuff and not ask. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Not only do you have the other habits that you got to break, now you got to break the habits of doing things in front of them that they don't need to see. Because it ain't about them seeing everything. It's about them seeing the right thing. So I'm going to leave you with that. So I'm going to go to the article, and we're going to get some EDU in our life. School is in, and yes, we're going to be talking about 12 ways to mess up your child. From www.theatlantic.com by Alice G. Walton. And it says, child psychologists, psychiatrists, and other experts tell us the dozen things you should avoid doing to help your child develop into a happy, confident, well-rounded little person. Parenting is one of the most popular areas of self-help. For many, parenting books are purchased while the child is still in utero. The last few decades have brought a lot of new discoveries about child development, child behavior, and the nature of parent-child relationship, some of which have been extremely important. But the volume of information can be overwhelming. So we decided to focus on what parents shouldn't do. We asked some of the best-known experts in the field what they see as some of the prime ways parents can mess up their kids. From child psychologists to child psychiatrists to child doctors, the experts gave us the lowdown on what harms and helps kids. According to them, here are their top 12 things that you should avoid doing to help your child develop into a happy, confident, and well-rounded little person. Number 1. Threaten to leave your kids behind. We've all been there. It's time to leave the park and your kids just won't go. They run. They hide. They refuse. And you become more and more frustrated and angry. It's tempting to take this tack when your kids just won't get on board with what you're trying to do, especially if they're throwing a full-fledged tantrum. But the threat of abandonment, it doesn't matter if you would never act on it, is deeply damaging to children. A child's feeling of attachment to his parents and caregivers is one of the most important things in a child's development, especially in the early years. Dr. L. Alan Scroff, Professor Emeritus of Psychology at the University of Minnesota's Institute of Child Development, says that threatening your child with abandonment, even in seemingly lighthearted ways, can shake the foundation of security and well-being that you represent. According to Schroff, when you say things like, I'm just going to leave you here, it opens up the possibility that you will not be there to protect and care for them. For a child, the thought that you could leave them alone in a strange place is both terribly frightening and can erode their attachment to you as the secure base from which they can encounter the world. So, next time you're tempted to respond to refusals or tantrums with, I'm leaving, try explaining the situation to your child in simple terms, or at least waiting out the tears with them. They will pass, and then proceeding on. If it's about the time to leave the park and your child is old enough, prepare him for the transition, since transitions are notoriously difficult for kids. Try to say something like, Oliver, it's getting to be dinner time, so we're going to start packing up in 5 minutes. Then alert him at the 4, 3, 2, and 1 minute marks so he's aware of what's coming. The same type of negotiating can work if your child is screaming in the grocery cart because he's sick of doing errands. Counting down the number of items you still need before mommy time is over and it's park or playtime can be a good way to help your child feel involved and aware of the plan. For younger children, distraction, look at the big red dog / red truck out there, is likely your best defense. Excuse me for a moment. Okay, we back. Number 2, lie to your child. A simple but extremely important rule of thumb in child rearing is don't lie to your child. For example, telling your kids that the family pet has gone to a farm upstate when the animal is actually dead is a good example of this common mistake that parents make. When we bend the truth in these ways, it's not, of course, miraculous. We are trying to save our kids' feelings. We may be unsure of how to handle these difficult situations or just hoping to avoid the issue. But making things up or lying to protect your child from pain actually backfires because it distorts reality, which is unnecessary and potentially damaging. It is important, though, to be sure your explanation is age appropriate. A very young child does not need a long explanation of death or dying. Telling him or her a person was very old or very sick with a serious illness the doctors couldn't make go away may be all that's needed. According to Stroff, this parenting mistake also includes distorting feelings, which may involve telling children they feel something that they in fact are not feeling, or, more frequently, telling them they are not feeling what they in fact are feeling. In other words, creating a discrepancy between what your child is experiencing and what you're telling them they feel creates unnecessary distress. For example, if your child says she is scared to go to school for the first time, rather than telling her she's not scared or that she's being silly, acknowledge your child's feelings and then work from there. Say something along the lines of, I know you're scared, but I'm going to come with you. We'll meet your new teachers and your classmates together, and I'll stay with you until you're not scared anymore. Sometimes excitement feels a lot like being scared. Do you think you are also excited? The next time you're tempted to tell a little lie or otherwise bend the truth, consider another way. It is an opportunity to grow. For a number of reasons. Kids learn by example, plain and simple. Children absorb everything around them, and they are exceptionally sponge-like in their capacity to learn and mirror both good and bad behaviors from the time that they are very young. For this reason, as child development expert Dr. David Elkind, Professor Emeritus of Child Development at Tufts University and well-known child development author, tells The Doctor, modeling the behavior we want is one of the best things we as parents can do. What you do matters a lot more than what you say your child should do. For example, the children of smokers are twice as likely to smoke as the kids of non-smoking parents, and overweight parents are significantly more likely to have overweight children than normal weight parents. Even slightly more enigmatic behaviors like how you treat family members and interact with strangers, animals, and the environment are absorbed and repeated by your children. The best way to get your kids to eat their broccoli? Eat it enthusiastically yourself and make it delicious with a little grated cheese perhaps for your kids. Children detect falseness a mile away. So believing in what you're doing is an integral part of leading by example. So if you want your child to be respectful and kind, be sure you exhibit those behaviors yourself, even when you are angry or in a disagreement. You, the parent, are the number one role in your child's life. Showing rather than telling them how to behave and navigate the world around them is the most effective method. 4. Assume that what worked for your first or for you will work for your second. One of the biggest problems with parenting advice is that one size does not fit all. As Elkind points out, the same boiling water that hardens the egg softens the carrot. The same parental behavior can have different effects depending on the personality of the child. If you have more than one child, you have probably noticed that not only do their personalities vary greatly, but other variables like sleep habits, attention spans, learning styles, and responses to discipline can also be extraordinarily different between children. Your first child may look to you constantly for comfort or encouragement, while your second may need nothing of the sort, preferring to forge ahead on his own. Some children respond to firm boundaries while others need less definition. Therefore, it is important to remember that what worked for one does not necessarily work for the other. The same is true when it comes to what you needed as a child versus what your own child needs. You might have been a child who was constantly on the go and required a lot of active play, but your child might prefer quiet, mellow play. Keeping these differences in mind as you raise your own kids is key. It's not easy since it requires you to keep learning and reevaluating rather than relying on your own experiences and memories. But parenting with the needs of each child at the forefront will go a long way for your and your children's development. Number 5. Have a panic attack because your child broke a rule. Most parents have a general idea of the things that are okay and aren't okay in their households. But what do you do when rules are broken can really make a difference between teaching your child a lesson and simply making them angry and resentful? When something unexpected pops up, some people take it in stride while others don't take it so well. But according to Dr. W. George Scarlett, Deputy Chair at the Elliott Pearson Department of Child Development at Tufts University, one way to mess up your kid is to lose track of the larger context and all the other variables that are part of the environment in which you raise your child and which your child exists. For example, if your child sneaks a violent video game or R-rated movie, it isn't the end of the world, assuming you're basically providing a positive, supporting surrounding to raise your child. Scarlett says that parents letting kids play video games with violent content and parents spanking provide examples of what I mean. If you just look at the correlations, you might conclude these two are bad ideas. But look closer and it seems these two are fine for most when embedded in good context and caring parenting. Therefore, a bad activity every now and again won't be too detrimental to your child's development if the other 99% of his activities are more in line with your own beliefs. Scarlett adds that the overall message might well be this: that particular methods, habits, and behaviors aren't as important as parental attitudes and abilities to take child's point of view as well as that of an adult. If a child is raised in a loving, nurturing environment in which he is respected and his feelings taken into account, more on this later, then activities to which we might otherwise say, no way, won't have so large or negative an impact on your child's development. Six, think your baby shouldn't be babied. Despite old school wisdom, it is virtually impossible to spoil your baby by being attentive to their needs or holding them in your arms for much of the day. Dr. Tova Klein, director of the Bernard Toddler Center at Columbia University, underlines that, quote, you can't spoil a baby by holding them or responding to them too much. Research shows just the opposite. Babies who receive more sensitive and responsive care so their needs are responded to become the more competent and independent toddlers, end quote. Holding your baby in your arms or in a sling, responding to cries, and comforting them when they're frustrated can only help. After all, babies cry for a reason. It's a signal that something is amiss and they need mom or dad's help to fix it. Knowing that